my passion is just getting people moved out of paralysis, whether emotionally or mentally, and into feeling better and being successful and having a new perspective and kind of a completely shifted framework about what's possible, whether,
Right.
whether it's in relationships or physically or emotionally or in terms of success or business.
Welcome back to Advancing with Amy. Today we're talking with Neo Fincher. Nino's expertise is quickly moving people out of emotional paralysis through rapid transformational therapy. She coaches her clients to success in their mindset, relationships, efficiency in business, and physical wellness. She works with clients worldwide who struggle with anxiety and PTSD. Kuba, the puppy who inspired her first book, is a big helper in creating a wonderful experience of comfort and encouragement for the veterans and other clients Nino sees in person as they get well. Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you, Nino. Thank you so much for coming today.
My pleasure. I'm thrilled to be here, Amy. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We're happy to have you. So, tell me a little bit about rapid transformational therapy. That's new to me.
Right. So, rapid transformational therapy was started by Marissa Piers. She's a British therapist who got sick and tired of clients coming to her who've been in therapy for 15 years and 7 years and 6 months and 9 months. And I completely appreciate it. I was trained in traditional counseling, and I think it's fantastic when you have a really good therapist, and I have certainly had extraordinary trainers. What I love about RTT is that it combines that traditional cognitive behavioral therapy together with hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming. So the basis of it is the science and the understanding that our brain is capable of change. It literally, the whole idea of neuroplasticity means that our brain can transform, which means it can create neural pathways that are new, that haven't been there before. And that's extraordinary and very hopeful and exciting. And then hypnosis allows the body and the mind to focus on what the root issue of concern is for the client that I'm working with. And so combined with those three aspects, you end up getting right to the bottom line and right to the root of the issue and making it possible for the client to transform very quickly. So I
Right.
haven't worked with anybody more than 3 sessions when I've dealt with rapid transformational therapy. I mean, I do,
Wow.
yeah, coaching, then that's a little bit different and longer, but RTT only takes under 3 sessions, which is fantastic, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I know a lot about NLP, but
Mhm.
how is it? You said it combines that, but how is it different?
It's different in that NLP is only one aspect of it. So NLP is used in RTT when I in the session create a specifically customized audio recording for my clients that deals with the very specifics of the issue that they want to change or remove from themselves or transform. And so NLP part creates that um, transformational aspect that allows the work that we've done in the session to kind of seal and establish the change that was made in their brain.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
fascinating. Okay. So tell me a little bit about the work that you do to move people out of paralysis. Is this the RTT?
It is the RTC. Yeah, I call everything paralysis or a rut that stagnates you or puts you in a place where you feel like you can't move from, out of, or past. When I talk about a rut or the emotional or mental paralysis in a way, what I mean by it is if you end up in a state of depression, you're really in a rut. You're in a paralysis emotionally. And I know all about it because I've been through one. And the clients who come to me who have anxiety can be so paralyzing that people stop doing certain activities because they get overwhelmed by it. They won't drive anymore. Or they won't go over bridges anymore. They go near a pet anymore. So
Right.
that's what I mean by being stuck or being paralyzed emotionally or mentally.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened to any of the other podcasts, but I have bipolar disorder, and so I know what that depression is like, and it is
Yeah.
paralyzing.
It is. It's devastating. I have a very good friend deals with it all the time. She won't let me work with her because I don't know why. Because friends are always, yeah, maybe too close, and she
Right.
unfortunately prefers to handle things with medication. And that's fine because for a
Yeah.
lot of people it works great. But I do know what you mean because it's such a very low when you hit that, when you plunge there, that it's quite frustrating. And I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
kind of used to it by now.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
And so you manage, right? Like you've have
Yes.
taught yourself techniques and you know NLP, you said. And I think it's wonderful, that you're aware and focused and know exactly how to tackle it.
Yes. Thank you. So
Right.
I'm curious. So do you feel like people can live a good life without medications then if they're doing these things?
A lot of the conditions that are immediately treated with medication uh, can probably do without. Again, I'm not dismissing medicine altogether.
No.
Obviously, it has a place and it has room, but I think it's so overprescribed and it's so rashed in an attempt to sort of address something that may not need medication at all. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, talk about ADHD in children, for instance. I mean, the kids are active and they're excitable and they're interested. It's sitting in the same space for, I don't know what, 5, 6 hours throughout the day with tiny, tiny incremental breaks where they can't expand all of that energy and waste all the pent up emotion. It's unfair and it's not normal. I mean, we're not designed to be parked
No.
somewhere for that long. I mean, kids need to move and they need to explore and they need to jump. And, so addressing it immediately with the medication to me is not sensible.
I agree with
Y-
you.
yeah.
It's a lot to ask a kid to sit in class all day, every
Yeah.
day for a week.
Right, right. Or even, like depression, for instance. I mean, you talk about SSRIs. There are so many studies now that show that there is no correlation between SSRIs and the improved depressive
Oh,
state.
really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but we rush to that because that is what we are familiar with and that is what we've known. And nobody questions it sufficiently, unfortunately. And it's a shame, but, depression, as any other condition, I feel like you need to address it in so many other ways than just medication or medication alone. I feel like medication very often just covers up or sort of it treats the surface of the issue without getting
Band-aid.
really, yeah, without getting to the bottom of it. And so I'm not for it first, if that
Right.
makes sense. Mhm.
I completely understand.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your work with veterans.
Yeah, so I think that this sacrifice that veterans sign up for is extraordinary. It's exceptional. It's something so profound that having them go and just be willing to sacrifice their life, I'm very grateful for that. Both of my grandfathers fought in the World War II. My sons want to serve, and it's just such a selfless act and such an
Yes.
act of courage, on veterans' side or on their behalf, that just being able to serve them and being able to help them move out of what they're dealing with, and they deal with such nightmares, that they kind of pick up during combat, that it makes sense to be able to go and give them time and allow them
Right.
to, yeah, recover. And of course, I have my little buddy that goes with me every time I go work
Yes.
with the veterans. It's a little
Cuba,
Havanese
right?
puppy. His name is Kuba, and it's so interesting. Do you have a pet?
I had a cat, but she passed away.
I'm so sorry. That's
Hey,
really hard. Yeah, but they
yeah,
always know, don't they? They always know what your temperament is, what your mood is, how you feel. They know when to cuddle. They know how when to walk away. That's just they
yeah.
have this sixth sense, and so he does too. And he always is there when they need extra comforting or when they need to interact with him to, kind of lessen, turn down their anxiety, etc. And so it's just been really, really special to be able to do that.
That's amazing. Have you been able to, would you say, cure their PTSD or just bring it to a level they can manage it? Or,
Yeah, I mean, yes, they've bring it to the level completely manageable. I mean, I've had veterans, have said to me, "I'm like a new man. Like I can't believe this is happening." And they have a completely different perspective on hope. That they're just thinking that this is possible, and I can do this, and I can do this, and they just kind of function a lot differently. They see what they're um, capable of a lot differently. A lot of them, of course, struggle with being able to integrate into the everyday life
right.
when there's no structure or it's almost like they lose their purpose. That's a very big one, I think, with the veterans, like the identity and the purposelessness.
Oh, I never thought about that, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
actually do social work and I've ran into a lot of veterans that are either struggling with their health or their, which I think a lot of that is based in mental health as well. And
yeah,
then and then I see a lot of them that are homeless, and it's just sad that we let that happen.
it's awful. It's wrong, wrong, wrong. I feel like instead of that is where our money needs to go first.
Yes, I agree
Uh,
with you.
yeah. So,
Okay. Well, I appreciate that you do that work. That's great.
yeah, it's a pleasure for sure.
So tell us a little bit more about Cuba and about your book.
Oh, I can talk about Cuba the whole hour and more. He's very special. He's like I said, he's a Havanese puppy. We got him when we lived in the Middle East. I lived there for 15 years before moving back to Texas, and so my husband found him somewhere and brought him home, and he's just been such a wonderful companion. And a lot of the probably majority of the neighbors in our current community I met because of him, because I walk him. I like to walk and think and
Right.
process and pray, and he is my little greeter of people. And
Aw.
so, yeah, but and of course, in the Middle East, when we lived there, so many people loved him there as well. So that when we moved, every time I go visit, the first question is, "Where's Cuba and how is Cuba?" instead of "How are you?" Which inspired a little book that I wrote where Cuba tells the story about how to be well, how to not be sad very long, and how to choose to be happy and why, and how to ask questions, and how reading books is so wonderful, and, exercise, and just all the important aspects of wellness are sort of
Right.
in that book from his perspective. And the book also comes with the little activity where you can make a little creature out of materials so they can have little Kuba creature with you at all
That
times.
is amazing. I love
It's really
that.
fun. Yeah.
What age range is it geared towards?
The book is for ages 3 to 8.
2 to 8?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. I've got some
So,
grandkids that would love that.
oh, that's very sweet. Yeah, I think and I tried in the book to add a question with every page that parents can. I mean, parents would probably read to the little ones, of course, but just kind of get kids to think about some things and to change their framework and perspective about how things are normally done when they're upset and how they can be chosen differently.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really fun. And it's the one and so I made it a series, so now I have to write another one because
What's the next
it
one?
well, the next one is going to be so this one is called Cuba Says Hi and shows you how to stay happy and healthy. And the next one is going to be Cuba Says Hi and takes you to his favorite places. And
Aw.
yeah, and so that one is going to be a little bit of a travel book, and we're going to talk about Texas, Georgia, the country, and United Arab Emirates, which is where he lived
Where you
before we
found
came.
him. Yeah,
That's
that's
right. That's
awesome.
right.
How old is he?
He's 7 years old.
Oh, yeah. I do love dogs.
They're so
So
fun.
I like them little though. I get a
Ah,
little scared of the big ones, but I
yeah.
like little ones.
I
And
can
Cooper's
fix
not
that
too
for you,
big.
Amy.
Oh, you could?
I could, yeah,
I'd have
for
to have you
sure.
do that for me and my daughter.
Yeah, I know. It comes from somewhere. We can fix it.
Yeah, it does. So tell me, how long have you been doing this and how did you get into this field of work?
So I finished my master's degree in 98. And so I've worked as a counselor on and off since that time. I worked with a gentleman in private practice who was my professor at first, and then just a phenomenal marriage and family therapist. And I've worked as a counselor for different foundations. And then when we moved to the Middle East, at some point, if you like to develop and grow, it logically makes sense that you want to do something different, something added,
Right,
something new. And in my mind, the next step was a PhD program, but in the PhD program, you want to be very specifically niching in something that's very peculiar, and I didn't have anything that narrow that I wanted to spend money and years of my time on. And
right,
so I'm so grateful that RTT came along because I explored a lot of different modalities and techniques. And when I came across this, it was just a non brainer. I mean, it transforms, and I'm just so
right.
thrilled to exclusively do this now as a therapist.
How did you come across RTD?
When I was researching, when I was looking at what to do next, I went through a lot of different interesting things, and some of them I may even go back to and do at some point. But if you're familiar with Paul Ekman,
Mhm.
okay, so I thought that was a very big interest of mine. So I thought, micro expressions and just kind of working in that field would be fascinating. I still do. But sort of as I was researching, I think RTT came up, and then Marissa Piers' book came up, and um, I had a privilege of training with her. I was just with her, in Dubai just a few months ago, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful professional and knows what she's talking about. And I just love having gone through the program. It's been really, really transformational for me as in terms of career, and for all of my clients who are just like you say you want to put yourself out of business because I don't want you coming to see me for
Right.
7 months. That's ridiculous, and then go do something fun. You don't need to be telling me about your drama for that long.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
And
me
it's
too.
amazing how the universe gets you what you need at the time you need it. So you found that when you were, looking for
Yep.
thinking about college and everything else. So
Yeah, and I prayed quite a bit. I mean, I love Jesus, so my prayers are always in his name and directed through him, and I feel like God knows exactly how you're designed, what your purpose is, what your skill set is, and how to have that all converge in order
yeah,
to, benefit others in the most profound way.
definitely. I'm actually working on my MBA right now, and I told my friend I don't know why I am. I had just I had set it aside 20 years ago
Mhm.
and had half of it done, and I decided to go back last year.
Well
And
done.
oh, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
graduating next month, so I'm pretty
Oh,
excited about it.
congratulations. Oh, that's wonderful. Good
Thank
for you,
you.
Amy.
But
You
I'm
know, I
still wondering what God has in store for me and what I'm meant
oh,
to do with that.
well, there are going to be so many doors opening for you now. And as
Yeah,
having experience in social work, I mean, you know how to listen to people, you know how to love people, you know how to read people, you know what people's struggles are.
right.
And business will just be an additional aspect of how can I take what I know in terms of finance and building a program that can, to be
Yeah,
developed to help people further, right?
I would love that. Maybe get
Hmm.
into some nonprofit work and that kind of thing.
Right. I mean, so, it's so interesting. I was just talking to a lady who talks about what a ridiculous amount of money government has,
Oh, yeah.
right, to spend. And so the government grants are such a smart way to go to get the money, especially for, they highlight women's businesses, minority
Right.
businesses, and government needs help. They can't do what needs to be done, as we all can see and know.
Right.
And for you to be able to come alongside and say, "Hey, fund this, and I'm going to take your business."
Yes, and I
Just
actually have a history of grant writing, so I do like that. That's
see,
something
you're a
I enjoy.
pro. You're going to do
Thanks.
great. That's it.
So, getting back to you though, can you tell me a little bit about maybe a story about someone that you've helped?
Sure. Okay, let me see, which one do I pick? Um, okay, so one of my favorites is a gentleman that I worked with who moved into a city that has bridges, a lot of bridges. And so for over a period of time, he developed such a fear of them that he had to give up his doctor, he had to give up his vet, he had to give up a multiple $1,000 contract because he couldn't get on the bridge and get to the other side to meet his client or to get to the appointment. So he had the fear of bridges. It's actually a thing. And so I worked with him, and in one session, I had him going over bridges. And it's so interesting because in traditional therapy, for instance, you um, would sit down and just kind of start exploring, well, where did this come from? How did it start? Which bridge was, caused this fear? Maybe something happened on a bridge when you were little. Maybe you saw a movie about a bridge. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
consciously, you would go, okay, well, this makes sense. It's logically makes sense that that's what would happen. Well, it had nothing to do with bridges. But for this client, it had to do with the fear of suspension and the
Mm.
state of suspension that he experienced through a lot of the hellish experiences that he went through as a little kid. And so his mind associated a state of being sort of nowhere in between, in between the ground and, up high
Right.
as a very unsafe place for him. And so every time he would go near a bridge, his mind immediately would kick into that mode of going, oh, you're about to get suspended. And that's a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would have, maybe after months and months and months, I would have gotten to it somehow, but it's very unlikely. I mean, so,
Yeah.
but we fixed him in one session, so I'm very, very happy about
One
that.
session. That is
One
so
session,
cool.
amazing, and then I've had, of course, I mean, anxiety. I've had people who are terrified of driving or they've had an accident and because of that, they're afraid. I've had people who, I had a client who's been, um, he said he was in counseling for 15 years because of depression. Um, we did one session and he is like a new man. And I just like, oh my gosh, it's such a fulfilling and
Yeah.
exciting thing to have somebody write you back and just go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to me." I'm so I slept, people who can't sleep. I've worked with a lot of people who have insomnia.
Do you work with kids?
I do work with kids. Kids are fun. You know why? Because kids know how to imagine.
Yes.
And it's just priceless. I just love it. They're
Uh,
so easy.
I have a
And
13-year-old, so I just was wondering because she's got a big fear of bugs and she's got the fear of the big dogs too.
yeah. So see, but you guys share that. So that's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
almost wonder if she got that from me because maybe
Well,
she picked up on
probably
what I was feeling.
probably.
She's
Yeah,
very insightful.
it's it's so interesting. So I mean I don't know what happened with you and the fear of dogs, but children sense of hearing is so intense when they're in the womb. So obviously they
Oh,
can't see anything, but they can
right.
certainly hear, and that's why the scientists and doctors will tell you make sure you read to them. when you're
Right.
pregnant, or make
Absolutely.
sure they listen to the music. It's because their sense of hearing is amazing. And so, for instance, Marissa Pier once shared this story about a client who was dating a young woman who was in a symphony, and they broke up because he could not go to hear her play in the orchestra because he was terrified of the sound of the drums.
Oh.
And so it turned out that he uh, when he was little, when his mother was pregnant with him, there was an invasion into their home, and she hid in the closet. And she said that it was just me at home, and these men were just breaking up things, looking for things. And she goes, I was in the closet, and my heart was just pounding so hard that
Ah.
I was terrified that they were going to kill me and kill you. And so that rhythmic pounding was translated for a little kid
Wow.
into the drum sound. I mean,
That's
it's
powerful.
isn't it
Yeah.
amazing? So
Mhm.
yeah, so kids, so I don't know, perhaps something happened to you when you were pregnant with her, or maybe something she encountered with you, there was some incident, etc. But yeah, kids pick up, and that's why we as parents need to be aware of
Yes.
what we say and how we, react to things, and what we repetitively say to them, and, because they listen subconsciously
Yes.
and
And
then
they
register.
understand so much more than you think and we
Absolutely.
think. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I've really enjoyed talking with you. Can you tell me what would you want our audience to know?
Well, I would want your audience to know that uh, change is possible. God designed us so beautifully to have the spirit, mind, heart, and body. And all those things that make us up, that make us who we are, can work together to help you succeed, or help you heal, or help move you out of a state of fear. And so it's possible, and it's just a matter of either not having the beliefs that support that, not having the skills that you need in order to, assist yourself, or not having the tools. And so
Right.
being able to understand where the breakdown is happening, one of those three areas, is tremendous in allowing a person to get moving out of a rut into something that is, you know, different, like night and
Right.
day. Mm.
Okay. What if someone wants to work with you? How do they find you?
Yeah, I'm very findable. So a lot of people, if they're business professionals, please find me on LinkedIn. That's my primary platform. And NINOFIT, ninofit.com is my website. And happy to talk to you if you send me a message through there. But yeah, absolutely. So I'd love people working with people one on one as a therapist, or through my coaching program, because there we hit a lot more areas than just one singular issue of
Can you tell
concern.
me a little bit about the coaching program? Like, how is
Yeah,
that different? You
yeah. So
said because
coaching,
you're hitting on different topics, but
right. So coaching. So usually in RTT, somebody will come to me and say that I have this one issue that I'm struggling with, and I don't know how to fix. Maybe I'm overweight and I'm struggling to lose weight, or I've had a guy who has had heart palpitations, and the doctors excluded everything that made sense, and it was something completely different. Um, rather than a physiological issue for him. So I would address that in RTT. In coaching, as I said, we're made up of spirit, mind, heart, and body. And so we address every one of those areas to see how they
uh,
can work together as one unit to really help you explode and succeed. And sometimes it's issues with business, like being struggling in personal business. Sometimes it's relationships. Sometimes it's kind of a mind blocks, but all of those things affect the other parts of
right.
life. And so in coaching, I get to all of those things and help you move through. all of them
That's
to
wonderful. How long
mm,
or what's the average
average
time that
is
you do that?
8 weeks. 8 weeks.
That's not bad.
No.
Yeah, a lot
Mhm.
shorter than regular therapy.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Definitely. And
all
you get
right.
a lot more. So
Well, like I said, I've really enjoyed talking with you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go?
no, thank you. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and it's such a pleasure to meet you, Amy. I know we've had things interfering, and so I'm really happy we're finally able to meet each other,
Me
you know,
too.
face to face. But yeah, if you have kids, I think they will enjoy the book. So please look again, books. You'll find it anywhere and everywhere. It looks like this.
Oh,
That's called Cuba Says Hi.
that's
And
great.
yeah, and absolutely. And if you want me to work with you, you just shoot me a note through ninofit.com.
I might do that myself, and I will definitely put a link to your website and to the book.
Thank
Is
you.
it best to go through Amazon for that or
But really, anywhere Barnes and Noble has it,
Barnes and
Amazon has
Noble?
it. Yeah, my website, you can buy it through my website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. Well,
sure.
I will have that in the show notes for everybody.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Warriors, that wraps up another enlightening episode of Advancing with Amy, Mental Health Warrior and Neurospicy Mama. Today, we had the privilege to dive deep into mental health and transformative therapy with our incredible guest, Nino. From her extensive experience as a counselor to her groundbreaking work with Rapid Transformational Therapy, Nino shared invaluable insights that truly highlight the power of holistic mental health practices. We touched on everything from conquering fears and anxieties through RTT to the difference alternative therapies can make before resorting to medication. Nino's work with veterans and the heartwarming contributions of her furry assistant, Cuba, shed light on the courage and hope that can be found even in the most challenging circumstances. And let's not forget her delightful children's book, Cuba Says Hi, which is a must-have for families looking to teach wellness in a fun and engaging way. Nino, thank you so much for sharing your journey and expertise with us. For our listeners who want to learn more about Nino's transformative services or grab a copy of her book, be sure to visit her website at ninofit.com. Also, don't forget to connect with her on LinkedIn. Before we sign off, I have a quick favor to ask. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment to rate, review, and share this episode with your friends and family. Your support helps us bring more amazing content and inspiring guests like Nino to the show. For all the links and resources mentioned in this episode, check out the show notes. Until next time, keep advancing, warriors.